Sylvester Stallone is more than a movie star. He is an emblem of resilience. For nearly 50 years, his name has been synonymous with endurance, determination, and the refusal to surrender, even when life seems insurmountable. Through iconic characters like Rocky Balboa and John Rambo, Stallone gave the world heroes who absorbed punishment yet rose again, embodying the relentless human spirit. But his own story behind the silver screen is far harsher than any script. Stallone's life was shaped not by instant success or effortless talent, but by relentless rejection, humiliation, financial hardship, and heartbreaking personal loss. His true legacy is not mere victory, but survival, the persistence to endure despite pain. This is not just the biography of a celebrity. It is a portrait of a man who, against every odds, refused to quit and transformed personal struggle into lasting triumph. A birth marked by struggle. Stallone's first battle began before he could even speak. Born on July 6, 1946 in New York City, his delivery was complicated by forceps that severed a nerve, leaving the left side of his face partially paralyzed. His lips drooped, his speech slurred, and his expressions were asymmetrical. A permanent reminder of that traumatic birth. What could have been a minor medical incident instead became a defining feature, shaping how others saw him and how he saw himself. From infancy, Stallone carried a visible difference, a mark that invited ridicule and judgment. Before he understood rejection, he was already confronting it. While other children learned to speak and smile without fear, Stallone was forced to navigate a world that could be cruel to those who looked or sounded different. That early humiliation ignited a fire within him, a determination that would shape the trajectory of his entire life. Childhood without shelter, Stallone's home life offered little security or comfort. His father, Frank Stallone Sr., was volatile and distant, while his mother, Jackie, pursued her ambitions with little focus on nurturing her son. Their marriage was tumultuous, filled with arguments and tension. By the age of 5, his parents divorced, leaving young Stallone shuffled between households and boarding schools. He later described feeling unwanted, like an inconvenience rather than a child who deserved care. This emotional neglect became the foundation of his early life, breeding insecurity that followed him into adulthood. Yet it also fueled his drive to achieve and assert himself. The haunting sensation of being unloved created a duality within him. Self-doubt on one hand, and a fierce determination to succeed and survive on the other. The difficulties of his childhood would prove instrumental in forming the resilience that later defined both his personal and professional life. Mockery and isolation at school offered no refuge from humiliation. Children mocked Stallone's slurred speech and uneven smile, and teachers underestimated his intelligence, often assuming that speech impairment equaled cognitive deficiency. Labeled difficult and slow, he grew frustrated, angry, and withdrawn. Physical fighting became his language when words failed. By his teenage years, he had been expelled from multiple schools. At 16, he was sent to a boarding school in Switzerland, where isolation intensified his sense of depression and invisibility. For a time, he believed the world had no place for him. Yet even in those bleak years, an ember of defiance burned within him. Slowly, he began to recognize that if society would not accept him, he would have to accept himself. These early experiences of mockery and isolation would become the invisible armor that prepared him for the relentless challenges of Hollywood and life beyond. Choosing a dream against the odds. Despite academic struggles, Stallone discovered a spark in acting, a space where vulnerability could be transformed into strength. Upon returning to the United States, he enrolled in drama programs and pursued theater, clinging to an improbable dream of becoming a professional actor. Hollywood, however, offered little mercy. Casting directors dismissed him immediately. His face was unconventional, his speech slurred, and they claimed he lacked the charisma of a leading man. Yet Stallone persisted, turning ambition into survival. Each rejection became fuel, each insult a stepping stone towards self-definition. Acting offered him not only a career, but a chance to rewrite the narrative imposed on him by a world that had mocked and dismissed him. He realized he could not rely on others to validate his worth. Instead, he would create a new identity rooted in authenticity, courage, and persistence. Poverty and rock bottom. The early 1970s were among the harshest years of Stallone's life. Living in near poverty, he took any job he could find to survive, from cleaning lion cages at the Central Park Zoo to working as a theatre usher. At one point, he even slept in a bus station, unable to afford rent. Hunger and desperation pushed him into an adult film role for quick cash, a decision he later regretted but accepted as necessary. His lowest moment came when he sold his beloved dog, Butkus, for $50 because he could not afford food. These experiences humbled him, yet Stallone never surrendered. He learned that survival sometimes requires unimaginable sacrifices. The world stripped him of comfort and pride, but it could not take away his indomitable will. These trials prepared him for the breakthrough that would change everything. The creation of Rocky Balboa. Inspiration strikes. The birth of Rocky. Everything changed in March 1975 when Stallone watched a boxing match between Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner. Wepner, a clear underdog, lasted 15 rounds against the champion before losing. His endurance struck a chord with Stallone, who saw his own struggles mirrored in the battered fighter. Over the next 3 days, Stallone wrote the screenplay for Rocky, pouring all his personal disappointments, rejections, and aspirations into the story. The tale of a small-time boxer given one improbable opportunity reflected his own journey of hardship and persistence. The script was raw, personal, and deeply honest. For the first time, Stallone envisioned a future where he didn't need to conform or change to succeed. Instead, he could embrace his identity, transforming struggle into art and proving that survival and resilience are often the greatest victories. The refusal that changed everything. When studios recognized the potential of Rocky, they offered substantial sums to buy the script, but with one condition: Stallone could not play the lead. Established actors were suggested in his place. For a struggling man living in poverty, the offers, reportedly reaching hundreds of thousands of dollars, would have been life-changing. Yet Stallone refused. He insisted that if Rocky were made, he had to portray Rocky Balboa himself. Authenticity mattered more than security. Eventually, the studio acquiesced, albeit with a modest budget. This decision was not merely artistic, it was existential. Stallone would not let his voice or story be replaced. That refusal, born from decades of struggle, defined him. He transformed from an outsider dismissed by the world into a creator of his own destiny, proving that resilience often requires defiance and faith in oneself. A cultural explosion released. In 1976, Rocky became an unprecedented cultural phenomenon. Audiences connected deeply with the story of the underdog who refused to quit. The film grossed over $200 million worldwide and won the Academy Award for Best Picture. Stallone himself received nominations for Best Actor and Best Original Screenplay. Overnight, he transitioned from a struggling actor to an international icon. Rocky's triumph was more than entertainment. It was a reflection of perseverance. The man once ridiculed for his appearance now stood among Hollywood's elite. His story mirrored Rocky's own journey. Strength born not from perfection, but from persistence. Stallone had crafted a hero who could endure immense punishment and rise again. a hero who embodied the essence of survival in a world that had repeatedly tried to break him. Reclaiming the fighter within Stallone continued to return to the characters that had defined him. In 2006, he wrote and directed Rocky Balboa, portraying an aging fighter confronting doubt, loss, and mortality. Audiences and critics responded with admiration. He acknowledged the realities of aging rather than denying them, and his renewed portrayal of Rambo demonstrated enduring grit and intensity. These projects were more than professional comebacks. They were affirmations of identity. Stallone demonstrated that survival is not simply staying alive, but refusing to allow the world to erase your essence. His continued evolution in film and television revealed a man who had taken personal struggle and translated it into art, mentoring, and legacy, proving that endurance and self-definition are inseparable from true success. The unthinkable loss. In 2012, Stallone faced one of life's most profound tragedies: the death of his eldest son, Sage, at age 36 from heart disease. No fame or fortune could protect him from the devastating sorrow of losing a child. He retreated from public attention to process grief privately, later describing the experience as a pain that never fully heals. This heartbreak profoundly reshaped him, deepening the authenticity of his performances. When portraying Rocky or other characters facing mortality, audiences could sense the raw truth of his emotions. Stallone's pain became both artistic inspiration and a reminder that survival does not mean avoidance. It means continuing to live, love, and create despite the wounds life imposes. Endurance as legacy today, Stallone remains active in film and television, embracing new platforms and audiences with ongoing projects like Tulsa King. He continues to train, write, and mentor, carrying decades of hard-won lessons into each endeavor. Beyond wealth or awards, his true legacy lies in persistence. From a paralyzed infant dismissed as flawed to an international icon, Stallone's life defies simple categorization. He was not given opportunity. He forged it through resilience. Each setback, humiliation, and loss became another reason to rise. His journey illustrates that strength is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to endure. Stallone embodies survival in its most authentic form, showing that courage is forged in the fires of adversity. Conclusion: the real victory, Sylvester Stallone's story transcends cinema. Rocky Balboa may be fictional, but the spirit behind him is unmistakably real. Stallone faced physical impairment, childhood neglect, professional rejection, public humiliation, and profound personal loss. Yet he chose to rise each time life knocked him down. His triumph lies not in box office numbers or trophies, but in endurance. Falling is inevitable. Staying down is optional. Stallone's greatest role was not Rocky or Rambo. It was himself. A man who refused to surrender, a survivor who transformed pain into power and persistence into legend. His life is a testament that the ultimate victory is not perfection, but the courage to keep standing, no matter how hard the world pushes back.